What's up, nerds? It's Havoc. Got another game for you guys here today on Taranto Coastline. I am playing DAK in this game against Seochan. Hopefully I'm saying that correctly. Who is number 30, rank 31 on USF. um, Definitely some like rank and elo discrepancy between myself and Seochan, about 150 points of elo, but it was a very close and interesting game. I think there's some important things to learn, not just from myself, but also from Seochan, who's got a great USF strategy that is, I think, super, super powerful this patch. And you're going to see why that causes this game to be much closer than it might otherwise be. Personally, I think DAK is probably the most difficult faction to play in 1v1 on our current patch, especially with some of the strengths of US forces and UKF, and those are going to be highlighted in this game. So I'm going to do my best to highlight the great things that Seochan does and some of the things that I do to try to counter. But it's an action-packed game, and I hope you guys enjoy it. So with that, we'll jump into it. So I have been experimenting with some different openers as DAK because the opening for DAK is super, super important. Getting that early tempo, maintaining fuel control, and getting into your tier 1 and tier 2 options as quickly as you can are going to help you stabilize. Because prior to that, you're going to have a really, really difficult time against some of the tier 1 and tier 0 units from UKF. So my typical opener for DAK has been starting with a bike, going into a 250 that I pass to I'll bring up to the Panzer Pioneers here as we move up the left-hand side of the map and capture the fuel. If you've watched any of my videos before, you know this is the standard capture order that you should always start with on this map. The bike is going to give me some nice mobility, nice map control in the early game. And that's going to allow me to be really aggressive with this Panzer Pio and 250 combo. One of the principles I want to highlight about early light vehicles is that if you're planning to build a light vehicle, whether it's a Dingo or a Jeep or a 250, the earlier you get it, the more effective it's going to be. You're going to have a larger window of opportunity to be aggressive with those vehicles. And so I think, if you're planning to build one of them, the earlier you can get it, the better. I think it should be like the first thing that you build from whatever tech structure you get. In this case, my exception here is starting with the bike to help me get some of that map control and to complement my Panzer Pioneer. I'm planning a quick mine here because a lot of players that like to start Jeep early on as USF will go for the Vet 1 option that allows them to capture territory, and they just like to harass this fuel point. This is a great mine to deal with a vehicle that's coming from this path towards the plus 10 fuel. And it's going to be a contentious area, so that's why I'm planting that mine there. Now we can see Seochan here started with a 2 assault engineer into weapon support center and machine gun. This is a really excellent opener, especially on this map. The firepower of the 1919 is more than enough to handle some of the light vehicles coming from DAK in the early game. And you can see here he's following up with a bazooka squad, most likely because he could hear my 250 in the fog of war. And so this is also going to be a great and integral pickup from him as well. So I'm just engaging the assault engineers at long range. I don't want to close the gap because he's going to start penetrating this thing more. Same thing here with the crowd shoots in. I'm just bringing my Panzer Grenadiers in to support at long range and just poke away at him. I want to force him to keep his distance as much as possible so I can do a lot of chip damage. And now typically what I have been doing previously is I've been going for a second Panzer Grenadier. But what I did in this case is I went one Panzer Grenadier into a really fast Assault Grenadier. And the nice thing about the Assault Grenadier is with the disembark bonus, they are super, super strong in the early game. And a great answer to these machine guns because you can drive in with a 250, get the Assault disembark bonus, especially if you can get outside on the flank, and then use the free assault grenades to flush out the machine gun position. while also remaining like very competitive against these assault engineers. Whereas the Panzer Grenadiers in the early game actually struggle quite a bit to handle large groups of assault grenadiers or assault engineers, my apologies, or the 1919s. They just, because of the damage reduction that comes with the passive on the 1919s plus the Vet 1, they become very, very difficult to dislodge from positions, even when you catch them on a flank. And so that's why we're going for the Assault Grenadier here. My second option from my Tier 1 is going to be an MG34 machine gun. I think this is an important unit to have at all stages of the game. It just gives you some really important crowd control that you need as DAK. And is going to support things like later game. If you decide to go Tier 2 and go for like 8-Rad or Stug D, being able to suppress those targets is going to be super important. So I knew that his machine gun was set up towards this munitions point. I'm moving my 250 into the road section and waiting until it engages in combat so I can get the assault disembark bonus. You can see my assault grenadier is going to beeline here for this machine gun. And I'm actually going to focus my attention now on pushing the bazooka squad away because he's decided to retreat the machine gun. Here, I'm taking advantage of the free grenade assault bonus while I still have the buff. And I'm going to try and catch this assault engineer on retreat. We actually get some really great grenades off. But not quite enough to finish off the unit. And now I've created lots of space for myself. Early Minesweeper I also think is super, super important now as DAK. I've made the mistake enough times of going an early Flamer on my Pio that I'm losing my vehicles to mines. So this is actually the first thing that I spend my munitions on, besides maybe an early mine, which I happen to do over here. So I'm going over to the +10, checking for a mine, because this is a very typical place to put one in the early game, especially with so many assault engineers. Again, we're keeping our distance from these machine guns, trying to stay out of the arc. MG34 is going to walk up the middle and try to secure this open position here where the VP is. And I'm just going to continuously apply pressure to his fuel because I am anticipating that at some point there's most likely going to be some kind of a M3 half-track coming from Seo-chan. So I got him to set up. I'm just slightly outside of his arc, but I'm also trying to be cognizant of the fact that there is a bazooka squad. I wait till I'm just out of the arc here, but a little bit of miss micro on my part. Just trying to get into a green cover position. And I do want to try and get use of these assault grenades, but unfortunately the buff wore off. Overstayed a little bit with my Panzer Grenadier here. I'm actually very lucky that he didn't stop and shoot the flamer because that might have done it. And we're just holding this green cover position against the machine gun. Again, just buying time with this extra fuel that we've secured. And at this point, I'm going for, this has been a very typical build for me. If I'm not going for an early 8-Rad, which I may or may not depending on the tempo that I've acquired in the early game, I'm either going 8-Rad and then tier 2.5 into Stug D, especially when I'm facing up against these US machine guns, because frankly, without the Stug D, you just don't really have a great answer to these, unless you eventually go for a 254 reconnaissance tractor, but that's also not something you want to get too early because it's going to kill your vehicle tempo, and if your opponent gets a vehicle out like an M3 or something, I don't have anything else in my composition that can even do chip damage or be remotely threatening to it. So in this case, I've opted for the fast Stug D because I managed to secure this +10 at the top. I think here, yeah, trying to get extra active with the... Again, going for the disembark bonus. You must engage in combat with the 250 in order to get the disembark bonus. So I'm proccing the bonus, running straight in. I notice his machine guns start to set up, so I'm trying to maneuver around here and get out of the arc. And then I'm getting the free assault grenades off on this machine gun. But he does a good job of retreating just early enough. Accidental setup there. I'm just going to do a quick retreat. And I'm most likely going to pull all my units away so I can return to base and heal. And now he's got his M3 on the field with the GNC upgrade. This unit's super powerful against DAK, and you can see Seochan's compositions become very, very well-rounded. He's got the assault engineers, which are relatively low cost, are going to be sufficient, you know, assault troops to push into areas. He's got the machine guns in support, as well as the bazooka squad as like an anti-dive tool. So Seochan's got like a really solid composition coming together with the GMC, the bazooka team to support against any vehicles that I'm going to field. And then you can see he's really leaning into the machine guns because he knows how powerful they are. I have to say, like, with the damage reduction of the current 1919s, they are really oppressive. Super, super strong. And so Seochan's, you know, making great use of that in this case. So I'm trying to get some shock value, my Stug D, just getting it on the field, focusing on the most immobile targets like the machine gun teams, trying to create space for my units to push in here. I know I can't like engage his machine guns in the open directly, either with my MG34 or my Panzer Grenadier squad. And so this is the battle group that I've been choosing more recently, going with armored support. I really like the superior fire drills, giving extra bonus to coaxial machine guns, especially on like my Stug Ds, 8 rads, and eventually later game tanks as well. This is a great bonus. And then I'm thinking about the Flampanzer. I think there's really great synergy between the Stug D dealing chip damage, especially at long range once you get this firing positions veterancy ability. And then bringing in the Flampanzer to try to clean up whatever units you're dealing the chip damage to. And it's also really great at dealing with line troops, because if they're trying to push into you really heavily and just taking flames to the face from this thing, it kind of compensates for the weakness of the Stug D, which is dealing with really, really mobile targets. So I'm creating a really well-rounded vehicle composition as I move towards the Flampanzer in this case. Done a good job of jumping into the green cover here. I'm trying to throw a grenade to flush him out, and you'll notice here, like, the grenade does virtually no damage because of the damage reduction. Again, trying to maximize my assault disembark bonus. He's being really aggressive with his gun motor carriage, which is totally fine because he knows I don't really have any AT at the moment. And I'm going for a second Stug D because I know he's got 3 machine guns in at this point, and I'm gonna need more to create more Stug Ds to create space that I need to get back onto the map and be aggressive. He's gone for another assault engineer, probably to repair his vehicles, plant mines, and most likely he's gonna want to build a sweeper here. Actually missed micro on my part. I was focused on microing the Stug D, and I managed to lose my bike, which is a huge, huge loss as DAK. You never want to lose your bike if you can avoid it. The vision and the Vet 1 is too powerful to just give away. So again, Seochan, really strong composition here between his engineers. He's getting another bazooka squad to support his troops and prevent dive from some of my vehicles as they come out. I'm trying to make use of this open space here, setting up his machine gun. I'm going to throw grenades on it and see if I can pick up the kill here. Stug D's, I mean, you know, I think this damage reduction is ridiculous. Like, the fact that he tanked 2 Stug D shots and the entire assault grenade bonus and still got away, it's kind of crazy to me. But again, like I said, you know, these machine guns are very, very powerful on this patch, and Seochan's making great use of them. You'll notice, I also want to call out here, like, he's doing a great job of not being too aggressive with his scouts and really leveraging them for the vision and spotting purposes for his machine guns. This is something I see a lot of players make mistakes with, is like they're always marching whatever unit's in directly into combat rather than keeping a support unit like a scout in reserve around your machine gun teams or behind them, so that you're having adequate spotting and getting maximal use out of the maximum range of the machine gun. Because you'll notice that outside of the scout's range, if we look at the machine gun itself's vision range, is actually quite short compared to what he can actually fire. So keeping your scout in and around or behind this machine gun is going to allow you to engage the units at maximum range and get the most usefulness out of the machine gun teams. Also going to offer great spotting options for your GMC. So I'm really trying to flush out this machine gun, create some space, maintain VP control here. I've got my Stug Ds together, so they're supporting each other, but I'm taking quite a bit of damage between the GMC and the bazooka teams on the flank. Just getting a good barrage in. I'm going to retreat there from that last shot. Now, this is an important call out. So I decide to go for the pack in this specific case because I'm a little concerned about how many AT units he's fielded. I know he's got 2 bazooka teams and the GMC. If I just go for the Martyr by itself, then there's a good chance that, you know, I get target weak pointed by this gun motor carriage and the bazooka squads clean me up, or this thing just kills it by itself. The Martyr also has a lot less accuracy than the Pak 38 does, which means it's going to miss targets like the GMC quite often. And so to try to minimize that, I've gone for the Pak instead, because it's also going to be less threatened by like the bazooka teams. And in order for him to flush this out, he's going to have to get directly on top of it with his assault engineers, which I personally have decided that I'm going to be able to deter that kind of a push using my Stug Ds, my MG34 team, as well as my assault grenadiers and other line units. I'm confident that if he closes the gap, I'll be able to deter him to the point where he's not going to actually threaten this Pak 38. So from his composition, the only real threat that I can see to this Pak 38 at the moment is the barrage coming from the gun motor carriage, which I'm pretty confident I can micro around. Some people, just because they built tier 2, you know, they're like, okay, I'm just going to go for Martyr because, you know, that's the option, the best option that I've got, or the highest tech option that I've got. But there are going to be cases, especially when you've tech tier 2.5, that going for the Pak is going to be a better choice. With the Pak 38, I also managed to get the 250 Colin, which is also going to supplement the healing on my troops. As well as give me more transportation for my basically 2 infantry squads is all I've got at this point, and then some support weapons and my engineer. Staying really active here in the middle with the Stug. I am going to be thinking about teching smokes pretty soon. He's doing a good job rotating in here with his GMC, being aggressive. Since I know there's no threat of the GMC, I'm going to get active as active as I can with my Stugs. Trying to maintain my frontal armor towards the bazooka team so that I'm getting minimal number of penetrations and lots of bounces if possible. But he's still going to be dealing some decent chip damage to me. Bringing my machine gun up to cover the center. I'm trying to get into a good cover position. And we've got our Pak in here to support the Stug D. Just manages to squeak out of vision before the second shot. And I'm going to stay active in here because I know if he re-emerges with the GMC, I'll be able to kill it with the Pak 38 here. Staying really intentional about keeping my 250s repaired, so anytime my assault grenadier is not engaged in combat, they're repairing the transports that they're using. Now I finally got access to the Vet 1, and this is really where you're able to much better deal with some of these US machine gun teams, is just being able to chip away at them at long range. Taking advantage of my disembark bonus there. I think he's planted the mine, which is why I'm using the free grenades, but I think he actually ended up canceling it. Focusing all my time with my piles on repairs so I can keep my vehicles topped up. And I'm just kind of perusing around with my mechanized forces. I think at this point, yeah, we've gone for the vehicle survival package. Pretty soon I'll be thinking about my emergency repair kits as well. And because I know he's got so many machine gun teams, I'm also going to go here for the 254. The barrage, as well as the access to the map vision or the visibility of his units on the mini-map, is really going to help me figure out where the openings are and how to position against this composition that he's got, which altogether is actually quite strong. can hear his half track coming up here. Hopefully we respond. I think I actually just disembark. Yeah, we just disembark. I would throw the snare in this case, but I'm a little bit shy on munitions. Being a little bit passive here with my Stug Ds. I was just getting ready for him to come in, but disabled my firing positions instead. I can see how many troops he's committed to the top, so I'm going to rotate my way over. Keep my machine gun in my pack here. Anytime you're repositioning, it's always a good idea to kind of bring your support weapons and keep them in reserve, especially if it's something like an anti-tank gun. Because if he commits or catches me out here with my vehicles and I don't have my pack to support, then he's going to have a good opportunity. And see now, I mean, this is really like where a large part of the value of the 254 comes in, is being able to see I mean, I don't know what's what, but at least I know where's a vehicle, where is a squad, and I can make some estimates about like what kind of units are where. In this case, you know, I'm anticipating maybe this is like a machine gun team. This is likely a scout or an engineer. I know this is his GMC because I haven't seen any other vehicles from him. And then likely, you know, we've got a machine gun here kind of covering the entrance. So, but I can make lots of inferences and decisions based on what I can see. So I caught his machine gun out, forced it to retreat with the 254 barrage. Again, I'm just staying active here with the Stugs, trying to flush him out of these positions, force him to retreat. Again, I'm actually just checking for a mine here, just in case. Using the attack ground to check common mine spots and disable or destroy those is always a great idea. And I think now I'm going to think about adding a Flampanzer into my composition, because I know how many squads he's got. I mean, he's got a really rounded composition inside the Weapon Support Center and with his engineers here as well. And it's going to be really difficult for me to push into these machine guns. I have to use my vehicles to do it, and that's going to open me to being susceptible to these bazookas and the GMC. The target weak point I'm really, really anxious about here. So I can see him setting up here, and again, you know, the value of the 254 coming in here. I can see there's like a large group of units consolidating here, so I'm going to reposition my, where is it? My machine gun to cover this middle section. I'm keeping my 250 just behind my PG so I can, you know, I don't get it like popped by a couple bazooka squads or something like that. And I'm kind of just baiting him in with this lower health Panzer Grenadier squad. Getting my Stug D with the Vet 1 in position. He does a good job of reacting here. Backing away. Don't want to take too much bleed on my panzer piles. It's like one of my most important units between the repairs and the minesweeper. And I think pretty soon I'll end up going for the Flampanzer here. Getting the disembark bonus for my assault grenadiers, forcing away this bazooka squad. You know, we're dealing good ship damage, got a lot of casualties, but now I need to start thinking about more anti-tank as well, because around, so for USF especially, around like the 15-minute mark, if you're playing against armored battle group, that's when you're going to start seeing an easy 8. I think in this case he may have gone for some infantry support center tech. No, maybe not. Okay, maybe I think it was just that early game fuel denial that slowed him down a little bit. But you can see the Easy 8 here in production. He's got this machine gun supporting my flank on his other machine gun. I'm just going to smoke these and back away, back towards the VP.
We have taken the advantage.
And I know I'm floating a lot here, but that's because I'm undecided about what I'm going to go for next. And you can actually see I do a pretty good job of estimating when I'm going to see his first bigger tank. And so I've got the Martyr in production before I even see his Easy 8. Part of the reason I built this also might be because I managed to notice that there were 2 vehicles on the 254 scan. Yeah, I think that's what it was. I noticed there were 2 vehicles on the 254 scan. And so I'm like, okay, I'm recognizing now I'm going to need some more anti-tank. Again, getting the Assault Disembark bonus, bringing my pack into position to defend my Stug D. Getting up in the face of his engineers, trying to use the free grenades as best I can, but these guys are going to get forced away by the machine gun. And I'm going for a second martyr here because I want 2 options that are mobile to manage the threat of what I'm expecting to be a continuous mass production of EZ8s. The EZ8 is so beefy. If he manages to catch out one of my martyrs and positions well around the Pack 38, I'm not going to be able to respond. So I need another martyr to support this one. And you'll see this like double AT gun or double martyr combo across higher level games quite a bit, because it's a much more effective deterrent against bigger tanks like the EZ8. Because, you know, if it was just one, then they can manage to take the punishment while they trade blows and eventually overrun something like a martyr. But having a second one that you're kind of keeping in reserve or close by, and getting those two initial shots in is going to deter your opponent from being too aggressive with a bigger tank like an EZ8. Get another pack shot in there. He does a good job of using the GMC barrage to force away my pack. I also I'm wanting some on-the-field heals now for my infantry squad since I've lost a lot of my 250s. And I also want to be able to reinforce, because I've decided this is kind of my strong position. Because it gives me visibility and access to the middle section here. Actually, kind of forget about my 254 here. I try to save it, I think, with this. But we're a little bit too late. We lose the 254. That's a big loss. Keeping my troops mechanized, keeping my assault grenadiers here, and he's just kind of coming straight into my machine gun in stronger positions here. I'm a little wary to get too aggressive with my martyr because I know he's got 2 bazookas here and the GMC here potentially. And again, this machine gun, unfortunately, you know, I need to move the Stug D into position to deal with this. This is a really fantastic map for machine guns. There's lots of choke points and funnels for your opponent. So having 3 machine guns just gives you all kinds of control of the access points on this map, which are essentially the top side, the middle section, and the bottom. He's opted for a Scott here, which I think is an interesting choice. Maybe to act as kind of a support unit to deal with combination of my Pack 38 and the machine gun. He's also doing a good job of using smoke to deny vision here. And at this point in the game, by the way, you definitely want to have your emergency repair kits, which I can see I've teched here because some of my stuff is healing. Try to get some cheeky assault grenades here on his GMC to see if I can pick it up. But seeing him coming in here, I'm going to retreat these guys pretty soon. And I'm trying to rotate my martyrs into position to deal with this threat coming up the middle. Staying away from the EZ8 as much as I can. You can see, like, I mean, look at the volume of troops he's got here. Like, while he's got all these units, individually, they don't actually deal that much damage. You know, this is an engineer squad. These are bazookas. The 1919 is going to deal the most damage here. But even on like a retreating unit, it's not going to have fantastic accuracy. So I'm pretty confident in being able to get out of here safely. Bringing the Stug D up, engaging the Vet 1 to help me manage these machine guns. I'm going to back away my pack here. Just try to be really careful. Again, maintaining frontal armor positioning against these bazooka teams, but Still getting pretty solid penetrations. And I'm recognizing, like, he's got so many troops. He's got so many troops. He hasn't opted for an easy 8 yet. And in order to help me clean up some of these units that I'm chipping away at with the Stug D, this is why I've called in the Flampanzer at this point. You know, it's like 21 minutes is quite late for this. But this is going to be far more effective at helping me clean these up than maybe teching and going for like a Panzer III at this point. Just a much better anti-infantry choice. Backing my Panzer Grenadier away from the flamethrower so I don't take too much damage. Keeping my Stug D out of position and out of combat so it can self-repair. And you can see here, these two units kind of complementing each other quite well. Thankfully, I've got a truck on the field here, so this chip damage I'll be able to heal up. Could have been a little bit better at probably managing my 250s, but we can see here, you know, I'm going to put one of my Panzer Grenadiers in this 250, and the Vet 1 healing is super nice. So I'm going to take advantage of that while I'm on the field. Getting my martyrs and everything in position to recapture this middle VP. I need to stop the bleed here. And he's gone for a Hellcat, which I think is an interesting choice. Easy 8, probably better. Maybe he didn't want to wait for it. But Hellcat's also, you know, very solid. I do have a lot of mechanized troops here and vehicles, so the Hellcat's always going to be useful. We cleared the vet on that 1919. And you can see this is kind of like, this is the great synergy that I was kind of talking about between the Stug D and the Panzer III. You get some good chip damage in with the Stug D, and then the Panzer III is able to move in and kind of clean up those units potentially as they either push forward or retreat. Probably should have been more active with these units, but you can see my martyrs are getting in position to cover my Panzer III if he decides to get aggressive. 250 here getting caught out. I mismicroed this a little bit, just snaring the easy 8 so I can get away. With the 250. Securing that top VP, but he's got a lot of forces here dedicated to that. You can see we're both at pop cap at this point, so I'm going to be thinking about moving towards tier 3. I'm also going to be thinking about this command panzer. And lastly, I am also leaning towards, because I know he's now leaning into his tier 4 vehicles, I'm going to be working my way down my command point tree towards the Stuka anti-tank loader. I'm confident that between my martyrs, my anti-tank gun, and the loader, that I should be able to manage any kind of big tank dives that he decides to do. And so that's why I'm leaning towards this before going for the command panzer in this particular case.
Victory point lost.
Just rotating my martyrs over to support the push back in here. But I didn't expect his easy 8. And again, this is a perfect example of where my 254 would have come in really handy. I would have seen these two vehicles and been more wary of going in with this 250 with assault grenadier support. But because I've got the martyrs here, I'm keeping them separate. I'm bringing in my minesweeper because I'm also anticipating that. Stug D is doing a good job covering the middle. I mean, the Stug Ds don't have a ton to offer me up here, so I'm leaving them in the middle to keep that secure. Pulling away with the assault grenadier that's low. My martyrs in position. See, this is a perfect example, right? I talked about, the martyr's going to miss this thing pretty consistently, which is why I opted for the Pack 38 earlier. If this was a double pack, I almost guarantee that this would have died. The pack has a much lower miss rate than the martyr does against the GMC. He's making good use of his Scott here. Support unit, firing over these hedgerows. I'm not able to get good shots on it with the martyr. I can see his bazooka teams are coming in, so I'm gonna back up here. And then I was thinking about trying to secure it before backing up. And see this, yeah, this is the perfect example of when the Flampanzer and the Stug D are going to come in super handy. So I just rotated my pack to finish off that machine gun, have that cleared. I also picked up a mine, which was pretty lucky. He's doing a crazy all-in here. So I just want to call out here, first, I'm focusing these units on killing the machine gun team that's clearly overextended. I'm going to do my best to start consolidating my anti-tank weapons. You can see I'm pulling back here so that I can reposition and face him from my staging area or my front. Basically, this is the best line of sight position that I have to manage any frontal threats. And thankfully, because my Stug Ds have the extra armor that they get at Vet 2, here, I'll show it here. You get extra 40 armor at Vet 2 on all surfaces, except I think rear. I'm confident that like these are going to be able to tank whatever frontal attack he does on me. So I'm going to try and rotate my weapons over. And again, we want to try to focus on one vehicle at a time to knock down his firepower. Because if I distribute the damage too much between these vehicles, I'm also focusing on the frontal target and the softer target in the Hellcat, because I know I can kill this in less shots than I can kill the Easy 8, because the Easy 8 has 840 HP, the Hellcat has 600. So I'm going to try and pick off the biggest threat first and the softest one before changing and focusing on the other target. So I'm using Panzerstorm here to create space for myself. Back in position. GMC is pushing in as well. I tried to get the snare off on this GMC. Stug D is continuing to cover the middle. I'm trying to rotate the Martyrs in to get some shots on the GMC here. And because of Panzerstorm, I have a little bit of extra speed that gave me a little bit of extra confidence to push in, but he actually got a couple good shots on my 250 and picked it up. So pretty messy. We didn't manage to pick up any kills here. Right now I'm just probing for weaknesses, looking for units that have maybe overextended a little bit, but I'm going to pull everything back to the staging area and let it self-repair. I'm also going to bring my Panzerpie out to repair again. And again, maintaining at least one VP control so I can minimize the victory point bleed that I'm having to deal with here. We can see, man, with strength and steel, like, despite having a very large army and several vehicles, he's still got plenty of population space relative to me at this point. So unfortunately, because of the manpower situation for myself, I'm still not making my way towards tier 3 yet. I also am trying to be wary of how I'm spending my munitions, because pretty soon I'm going to have access to the Stuka anti-tank loiter, and I really, really need that in order to defend myself against some of the attacks that I'm seeing from him. So noticing the machine gun in the building, I'm packing the Panzer III, the Flampanzer with the Assault Grenadier squad. I'm going to try and use these to flush out that machine gun from the building. You can see I'm just getting my minesweeper into position. Again, this is really, really, really important. Like, a mine can totally shut down your attack, cause you to lose vehicles. You guys have probably heard before, like, mines win games. And in this case, I'm leading with my sweeper to make sure that my Panzer III can enter safely. I'm moving around the outside rather than driving straight at the building, because I want to potentially use this as a blocker to protect my Panzer III from potential counterattacks from his vehicles. Because I don't know what's up here, right? I have no idea what he has up here. It could be some of his vehicles. It could be all of them. So I'm trying to put myself in the best possible position to be able to protect myself. And that's why we're going to veer off to the left here. And then if we need to, we can kind of duck behind these buildings and back away while the rest of our anti-tank weapons move in to respond. You can see here, I'm going to move my Martyrs into this position so that they can safely retreat. If I drive straight across here, I'm really opening myself up to get picked off by like bazookas or shot in the side by Hellcats. He could all in me and take me out very easily. So you need to be very careful about how you're positioning some of your anti-tank vehicles like Martyrs, especially the casemate ones, that aren't able to easily respond and manage these kinds of attacks on the flank. So got the disembark bonus because my Panzer III engaged in combat. We very quickly roast out that machine gun, which is nice. I actually tried to pick it up, but it was stuck in the building, so I wasn't able to get it. I can see his vehicles in position, so I'm going to move my Martyrs into support. Stug D is guarding the flank here, coming from the middle potentially. And I'm taking a lot of damage. I can see all his vehicles there, so I'm backing away. And I'm actually opting for a third Martyr because I'm starting to get a little nervous about this mass of vehicles that he has at this point. Using the Flampanzer to back up my Panzer Grenadier here. I can see he's committing in. I gotta back up. Try to get some secondary shots on this Hellcat. Using this thing as bait. I actually freeze the Hellcat using the Vet 1 ability from the P3, hoping that I can potentially trade it out. But he's really committing here with his EZ8, so the safest thing for me to do is actually back away and concede this Panzer III, unfortunately. Unfortunately, we end up losing our PG there. And now we're in a rough position. Still don't have access to the loiter, but I just now have enough CPs for it, which is great. My Stugs are hitting Vet 3, which is also awesome. Man, the health upgrades with the extra health that you get at Vet 3 on the Stug D make these things super, super beefy. So this is gonna be super valuable. Pick up one of the bazooka squads there, so that's kind of a consolation prize for me after losing my P3. Quick note, what I definitely should have done at this point is try to find opportunities to salvage these vehicles with my Panzer Pioneer, because this is also one of the great benefits of the Armored Support Doctrine, is these salvage kits that you get on your Panzer Pioneers and your Panzer Grenadiers can also salvage. Really allows you to like recoup some of your losses and get some of those resources back, so you can kind of rebuild any mechanized forces that you lose over the course of the game. So I kind of missed this opportunity here. I was really focused on keeping my vehicles topped up. But something I need to be wary of moving into future games for sure. I'm trying to be a little bit careful here. I mean, I really think like there's a good chance he could have just all-in'd me at this point. And now we can see starting to push in here. I think I popped the smoke here to keep this thing safe and out of sight. Trying to deter using the assault grenadiers. And that was a little bit scary. I think if he committed there, he could have finished me off potentially. Pack 38 in reserve. We've got 4 AT weapons, but man, we are not feeling confident about dealing with all these tanks. And now we can see he's starting to move his way in. I'm putting my pack into position because I know where all of his tanks are. Does a great job of using the white phosphorus rocket on my machine gun team. And we can see now he's committed. So thankfully, I've done a good job of making sure I'm paying attention to my CPs. I've unlocked the Stuka anti-tank loiter. And again, I need to do my best to focus on the highest value and most susceptible targets during this push. So I actually misclicked on this one. Could have killed the Hellcat here first. But again, we're being very intentional about which vehicle we're targeting. Unfortunately, my loiter actually targeted the EZ8 behind the one that was pushing in. And you can see pretty soon here, I'm going to try to pull this one back out into the field. We're rotating our pack. Stug D, he's doing a good job of focusing on the right targets. He's actually going for my Stug D here rather than my Martyr, which I think is a mistake. Martyr in here supporting. Loiter hitting his GMC. His EZ8 gets out super, super low. And I actually managed to keep Yeah, pushed in here with the martyr to try to get that killing blow, and we managed to pick that up, and that was a big win for us. And so now I'm pretty confident that I can move tech towards tier 3, recoup my losses. Definitely should have spent, like I said, more time salvaging all of these units that just got killed. That was a huge missed opportunity on my part. And I actually go for the command P4 here, which offers extra fire rate for my vehicles, as well as armor, which is going to be super valuable on the Stugs especially, because they've already got the extra frontal armor from Vet 2. Stug frontal armor is very high, so they're going to act as great anchors to support all of my tank destroyer units, my martyrs, and my pack, and make a great spearhead to deal with his support weapons. It's also just going to be nice having a turreted vehicle that can help me deal with his dives. Managed to pick up Veteran C1 on my medical truck. And this is actually, like, I want to call out how important it is to bring this thing onto the field and keep it near your units. Like, Veteran C1 really helps scale your infantry, getting the extra rate of fire and accuracy, as well as some movement speed on your troops in the late game is super important. It helps keep your infantry competitive. And I see way too many players leaving their medical trucks in the base and never accumulating this veterancy. These vehicles are super low here, but I don't want to be pushing into these bazookas. Pretty confident that Seo-chan managed to pick up the bazooka upgrade from his weapon support center. Yeah, there it is. Extra damage. If you're having at least 2 bazooka squads, this is super valuable. You should definitely be getting this. This is pretty pathetic damage there from the double Stug on those machine gun teams. But yeah, I'm pretty confident here. You know, my Stugs, they're very beefy. They have a lot of frontal armor thanks to my my command tank here. Big smoke in there. Tried to get the attack round off, but the martyr's just super slow rotation rate. Getting a little aggressive here with the Panthers. And we managed not quite that extra health there. Really saved the GMC, but I was going for the kill on it. Again, using my Stugs as anchors. Should have brought my command panzer in. No excuse for that. That's a missed opportunity there. As well as my second martyr here. I think we're just starting to get micro fatigued at this point. It happens to all of us. He's doing a great job using the phosphorus on my troops and my pack here. I'm gonna try and actually back it through the smoke so I can deny vision. Get away. Martyrs come in a little, yeah, super late to support, but we're here now at least. Stug's repairing, maintaining control of this VP. And again, you know, big missed opportunity for me here, not salvaging some of the vehicles that I've managed to destroy. Just parking the medical truck here. Soft retreating my machine gun so I can reinforce it on the field. Really pathetic damage from the Stug D on this machine gun team. Look at that. It's like 20%. The Vet 3 machine gun teams get super beefy. I think it's so it ends up being a total if you get these machine gun teams to Vet 3, they end up with, I think, a net of 60% damage reduction at Vet 3. Because they get, I believe, they get the inherent 20%, they get defensive setup, and then at Vet 3 they get an additional 30% damage reduction. Again, we're anchoring with the Stugs, leading with the Stugs. Martyrs here to support. emergency repair kit's just coming in super clutch here because my Panzer pile would just have way too much to do. I was going to pick this up with the pile, but I actually realized that because it's an MG34, I can fire it on the move. So I'm going to go pick it up here with my Assault Grenadier squad. That's a quick note for those of you guys. So what determines whether the weapon is fired on the move is based on what the weapon is. It's actually not what unit is carrying it. So good examples of this, the Guasta flamethrower, if it's dropped, it can be picked up by any unit and fired on the move. This also applies to the Panzer Grenadiers MG34, the Stostruppen MG42, the Gurkha Bren versus the Tommy Bren. The Tommy Bren cannot be fired on the move, but the Gurkha Bren can. So something to consider, you know, as you see those weapon drops and think about what units you want to put it on. Taking into account whether or not you can fire it on the move. And the MG34, you know, it's got great damage at all ranges, so it's actually going to be a great addition to my Assault Grenadier here. Uses that captain mark to, I'm assuming, deter my Panzer IV. Should have moved this MG34 a little bit further, but he does a good job of using the smoke here to deter. Again, I have no issues here taking some hits from that Easy 8. My Stugs are super beefy at this point between the Command Panzer and the extra health that they've got. Martyr's in position to try to hit this Easy 8. Now, I've got the pack here. I'm actually going to rotate just a little bit to make sure that I can pick him up if he decides to move toward the south side of this bush, because the Martyrs are going to have a hard time rotating and hitting it. Stug's trying to continue to focus on the infantry targets here. Pick up one of his engineers, which is nice. And I believe at this point I've gone for my tier 3. I've managed also to load up my armored reserves, and the next thing I'm going to aim for is the Tiger at this point. I know once I have the Tiger, I can get really aggressive. It's tough to be aggressive with casemate vehicles. And so I know once I get the Tiger, between the rest of everything else that I have, I should be able to close out. I've also picked up Rapid Advance at this point, which is going to grant rotation rate to my casemate vehicles, which is really valuable. Allow me to capture points, and give me that extra speed as well, which is going to be a great upgrade to have. I think this is one of the criminally overlooked upgrades that DAK players often forget about, at least in a 1v1 context. I know it's popular in team games. Just to pick up one of these drop bazookas there. Again, I'm being conservative with my munitions. I'm not really planting mines because I want to save it for the Stuka. Martyr here, it's Vet 3, which is awesome. Trying to push in, see if I can secure that last shot. Bit of a missed opportunity on his part, I think, to push in and try to pick up one of the Martyr kills. But I also do have the smoke that's going to protect me if he does decide to push in. Should have definitely moved in there with my Command P4 as well. The micro fatigue is definitely getting to, I think, both of us at this point. Opts for another Hellcat, which honestly is probably a pretty good decision considering he's probably anticipating a Tiger, knowing how late in the game it is and how much fuel I likely have accumulated. And also knowing that, like, the frontal armor on these Stug Ds, here, let's take a look at it. I need one with the Command Panzer. So the Command Panzer also provides a bonus 20% armor to your vehicles. So you can see the Stug D, it makes really beefy frontal armor. This is actually more than the Tiger, with the bonus from the Command Panzer. So it's going to be very difficult for him to penetrate frontally. Catching on his vehicles here. Just going to back away. These bazooka squads are just an absolute menace at this point. Really consistent penetrations, great range because of the passive at Vet 3. I believe at Vet 3 they get access to a little bit extra range on their passive, which is really nice. Yeah, look at this. I mean, this is like almost the same as the AT gun range. And he's doing a good job of positioning them kind of just in front of his vehicles as a screen to get the best advantage he can out of that passive. I'm trying to get on top of his bazooka team here. Trying to move my martyrs in to support just in case, but he's getting great shots on the side from the bazookas. We're gonna save for the loiter here. Pretty nice phosphorus on his part. That's my machine gun. But now we can get aggressive. Now we've got the Tiger on the field. The Tiger and the Command Panzer combo are just going to be absolutely terrifying. If you look at the Tiger, you'll notice it actually has 456 armor, which is pretty, I think a little bit more actually than the Black Prince because of this bonus armor coming from your Command Panzer. For those of you that play team games, like these two units together are a great combo because it's going to allow your Tiger to bounce a lot more shots. And the rate of fire bonus on something as lethal as the Tiger is super, super valuable. So, something to call out there. So I'm spearheading here with my Tiger. I'm going to bring in, once I repair these martyrs, I'm going to bring these into support. My Stug Ds are still going to act as my frontal anchors to prevent flanks. And I'm just using the Tiger to get in here and start trading blows with some of his tanks. Just like a slight miss there on the Scott.
Our victory point is being neutralized by the enemy.
The second shot. Ooh, 1 HP. He gets away. Gonna keep my distance because I'm a little concerned about a commitment here from him. But between Stuka Loiter here that I've got, and I know I've got it, I'm gonna be very confident if he decides to try to push in, which he does. Again, Stug Ds, right? It's so important to have your Stug Ds be in front of your martyrs, because if your martyrs get caught by these bazookas, that could lead to a really decisive move from your opponent to come in and clean them up, maybe get a flank off. So by having the Stug Ds being the first thing that he encounters, it's going to deter him from doing that a little bit. Forgot about my pack over here, unfortunately. He gets a good satchel off. Actually picks up my Stug D and he commits here. So I'm going to counter commit as well. Being just wary of those bazooka squads. Going to use the smoke to cover my retreat here. Tiger's going to come in. Get a big shot on the bazooka squad and we're going to clean that up, which is nice. And I'm actually going for the recovery vehicle here, for the potential of recovery, of course, but also because the recovery vehicle repairs, I think, about 50% faster than a Pioneer squad. And I just want to keep my I've got every vehicle that I need at this point. I just kind of want to keep them topped up as much as possible. And it's a lot of work for the Pioneer to do in this case.
Vehicle is reporting at HQ.
Just rotating my Stug D over to cover my Assault Grenadier advance. He's got, looks like pretty much all of his units there in the front. Trying to get some cheeky grenades off. And the extra health on these Assault Grenadiers coming in real nice. Taking those Scott shots. And I'm just going to spearhead with my Tiger at this point. Pick up the captain. Good phosphorus in on my AT gun. But I'm going to start getting aggressive here with the Tiger. Actually managed to hit one of his mines. And I've got the martyrs in here to support. I'm very, very confident taking this engagement here from the front, focusing one target at a time. Get some cheeky shots in from his Vet 1 on the 75mm. And again, not paying too much attention here. Should have been bringing in my other vehicles. Fire that shot, then use some smoke to retreat.
Enemy
And these
forces have
bazookas.
captured the victory point.
Manages to miss all those shots. The handheld AT weapons outside of the anti-tank rifles don't have great accuracy with attack ground. Trying to get that final killing blow on my truck here. And I'm actually recovering Easy 8. Out of all the tanks on the field, that is definitely the best option. I'm going to pick off these wrecks. And at this point, I know he's got no vehicles left, so I'm going to look to close the game out, which is why I'm going straight to his base. I see too many players after an engagement like this. I mean, first of all, going for the VPs, definitely like an option. I think at this point, it actually was also just like a little bit of ego on my part. I was like, man, I just want to finish this. I just want to win by annihilation, you know, after a game like that, a long haul like that. But, you know, go straight for the VPs. Get aggressive and in your opponent's face. Get in their base. By doing so, you're going to be able to address any threats. You're going to bleed them extra manpower. And potentially, you know, you're also inflicting like some morale damage to your opponent as well. So once you get a big victory like this, like press the advantage. Continue to push in. It's all about your level of confidence. And I've said this before, you know, I've let too many games slip through my fingers because I've been afraid of the opponent that I'm up against, rather than playing with the level of confidence that I normally would. So again, Command Panzer here and Tiger. Great combo, just doing some repair, capturing with my, my martyrs at this point because I know they're not going to be super valuable outside of that. And again, I'll just kind of finish it up here. We've got the triple cap now, so he's going to bleed out quickly. And we're just... And we bring in the Easy 8 for good measure. So there you have it. That's basically the end of the game there. I think Seo-chan, you know, really great composition. I think a couple things that he could have done. He definitely had some windows of opportunity to close the game out if he was more aggressive with his vehicles. I also think that the Scott wasn't bad, but I really think that maybe with the number of tier 4 vehicles he was fielding, that Seek and Destroy would have been a better option for him. If you just open up here, I can show you guys. So you get extra speed, accuracy. This is really great for all-in vehicle pushes. And if he had popped this ability, I mean, he's reducing the chances of missing. And he's also getting that extra speed that's going to allow him to close the gap and get on top of the targets that he wants to hit first, right? So I think that was also a little bit of a missed opportunity on his part. But all in all, it was a good game. I think, you know, Seo-chan did a great job of highlighting some of the strengths of the U.S. forces, the Weapons Support Center, machine guns, great uses of his GMC. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Hope you guys enjoyed the game, and more to come from me this week. So everybody have a great day. Don't forget to sub, and I'll see you later.
Commander, we should